Well, welcome back to Glow with Girly podcast, where we are going to dive deep into somatic healing, all things about emotions, self mastery, spiritual growth, all the good things. I am your host, Girly, and I do carry a belief deep in my heart that once we connect with the wisdom of our bodies and learn to listen to the guidance of our soul, we open ourselves up for miracles and magic to unfold. That's just period. And I am truly excited and so deeply honored for you to be here listening to me yap, wanting to dive deeper into the world of somatics, and are just joining me in this conversation. So, without further ado, let's get the second episode rolling. It should not come as a surprise to me by now that, if anything, I think I'm achieving a master level in this because the amount of curveballs that life has served me is not even funny. Even though, universe, I know that you hear me, I love being supported, guided, held. And let's cut back with the curveballs, all right? Unless they are in my highest good, meant to grow me, meant to deepen my trust, then they're all welcome. And that being said, I know that every curveball serves a purpose. So we're back to square one. I was planning to roll this episode out way sooner, but then life happened. I ended up dealing with a lot of unexpected family questions and drama and issues. Handling all of that from afar is already a task of its own because those of you who don't know me or my background that much, I haven't been living in my home country, which is Estonia, for 4 years now. And before that, I've always been a lover of traveling. But since 2022, I booked a one-way ticket. I solo traveled the world for 3 years. And now I have settled myself in a tiny island in the Mediterranean called Cyprus. So I am about 3,000 kilometers away from home. Well, I mean, that is an existential question of what is home. I feel like home is where I am and where my people are. And for a long time, home was where my suitcase was. So now I'm establishing new home, but in this context, I meant Estonia. And on top of all of these emotions that I was processing and then my body needed to process, I had my very first, I wouldn't call it a panic attack, but definitely my body took over in regulating and moving this surge of energy, which was a interesting experience to say the least, but also, and I know that we are taking a longer route to go into today's topic, which is all about your internal dialogue and our internal dialogue. But what this experience showed me in the middle of the night was that I have built such a strong trust towards my body that even when it was not under my control, because my body was just shaking, just uncontrollably shaking, I managed to stay calm within it. It's almost like I did not lose contact with that part of me that is the observing part, that is the soul in the body. And I knew that my body was doing something super intelligent. That when we look at it from the outside, it might look scary, but it was a profound experience for me to go through that. And in half an hour, my body calmed down naturally. I felt like I had run a marathon. And I was able to fall asleep in a little bit of time. And it really goes to show just how much power our emotions have on us. And if they don't have a proper outlet, they do have the power to take over. And on top of all the emotional turmoil, I also managed to fall sick. So I know that there was some virus running around. And I was so certain that this time I'm gonna beat it. But as soon as my body took that emotional hit, I knew that, okay, there's probably no escaping of it because my immune system can only take on so much. So I ended up being sick for a week. And now we're here. I can breathe again. I can talk again. And I am full of life. Even though I am in the last half of my luteal phase, we are doing it. I could see that my mind was coming up with excuses even before last week, which were the old reasons why to postpone something, such as my hair are not clean enough. I don't look camera worthy today. Oh, the light has gone out. The sun has set. All of these extra things that make me feel like I should be better prepared. And I catch myself going off the track so fast and reminded myself that, hey, podcasting was the platform that gives me the freedom to show up in every position, in any day of the time, in every way. Doesn't matter what I wear, doesn't matter how I look. So here I am. It's currently 8 p.m. I am sitting on my couch. I have a nice, slow, moody lights and setting, and I am doing this as an audio episode. So that was a long intro, but here we go. Now, before I fell sick, I did sign up with the local gym again. And I've had quite a long break. Shout out to 2025 and it's all its craziness and madness. But I'm determined to get back. And being back in the gym really reminded me that I actually want to be there. It's so funny how our mind is so adamant in keeping ourselves out from the things that we actually know and feel and experience as good for us. However, I do know that climbing back to the saddle takes a little bit of time and effort. But once you're there, you're so glad that you took the climb and that you're back up. And now, as I mentioned, I did fall sick. So I managed to go to the gym for like 3 times and then ended up taking more than a week off again. So today I was back, round 2. And something that I witnessed within me and something that I want to touch upon this episode is how we speak to ourselves. What is our internal dialogue like? Because you are the only person who you are with from the moment you're born till the day that you take your last breath here on earth. And you better make this a nice, loving, kind, compassionate space to be in. Your head, your body are the closest bits and pieces and parts that you can be with anything else. So that really serves as a sobering reminder that we need to make our head space and our internal world a loving place to be, somewhere where we actually want to be. Yet to so many of us, that hasn't been the case because we have developed this internal voice that constantly narrates things and has this dialogue with us. And most people think that this is who they are. The voice that they hear inside of themselves is who they are. Oh, I'm just hard on myself. It's just who I am. I'm just a high achiever. I'm just perfectionistic. I just need to have everything under my control the way that I like it. It's just who I am. No, honey, this is a voice that you adopted when you were a kid. As kids, we're like sponges, and God knows that my internal voice and my internal dialogue was not the most loving one. I still trip up every now and again, and luckily I have gathered people around me who can remind me in moments that if this internal voice seems normal for me, that is very demanding and expecting me to achieve. And don't get me wrong, at times it's amazing that you have this internal drive and you have a voice that says, keep on going and you can do this. But when it turns into a voice that says, yeah, are you sure that you did enough? You should have done more. Like, you know better. You're better than this. You're smarter than this. You're stronger than this. And it's almost like that voice has a disappointment ingrained in it. And it just makes you feel so shitty, so small, so not enough. Now, why it's so clear for me when I'm at the gym and anything that involves my body is because I used to be super hard on myself. I used to work out like crazy, diet like crazy, and still nothing was good enough. I was stressing every day seeing the scale going up 100 grams. I'm telling you, my head space was not a loving place to hang around. It was constantly pressuring me. It was constantly telling me that I should go higher, achieve more, do better. It was almost like it was never satisfied. And I was jumping through hoops trying to make that voice happy. And now fast forward today in the gym, I'm noticing how I can take it easy. It's almost like I have a new switch on. It's like I have been able to strip back all the layers that is not me, to quite literally change the station that is playing inside of me. And what I noticed and what I witnessed today was the ability to stay grounded and present and compassionate. That voice inside of me was like, hey girl, you don't need to jump right back in where you left off. Take it easy, take it slow, feel into your body, feel in how you are feeling today. Slow does it, easy does it. We're gonna get you back. There's no rush, there's no hate seeing myself from the mirror, and that reflection is clearly showing me that I have put on some weight. I'm still carrying 2025 with me. But all of a sudden, it's not that big of a deal anymore. It's not defining me. My identity is not attached to the numbers on the scale. My identity is something so much deeper, and the awareness and understanding that the body changes. It changes, it's with you. It reflects where you're at emotionally, mentally, what is happening in your life in this very moment. And you are not meant to be constantly a constant. Okay? The only constant in this life is change. And the sooner we learn to appreciate and accept, forget the appreciation, let's get into acceptance first, that we are going to change. We want to change. And sometimes that change is not something that we desire to see, but my body deserves love, whether it's 5 kilos or 10 kilos heavier or not. It's still me. It's still the body that carries me through life and allows me to hug my friends and kiss my partner and cuddle my cat and go and take me to sunset walks. Like, why wouldn't I give this love to my body? And I tell you why. Because I never learned that this is what love looks like. When it comes to our internal voices, that dialogue, that approach, that voice, that tone, all of these characteristics are planted inside of us. And we adopt this voice and we are used to hearing it so often that we believe genuinely that this is our voice, this is who we are, and this is how it's normal to speak to somebody. And to be really honest, how often would you speak to your bestie the way that you dare to speak to yourself when no one is watching and hearing? And I know a lot of you have done good work on that, and I applaud you. And as I said, like, I'm a living being and breathing work in progress myself as well. I don't think that there's ever gonna come an end to it. Once you're an enlightened being and glowing like a Buddha, I don't think that there is anything left for you to do on planet Earth, frankly speaking. So it's all a journey, and we should embrace it. We should try to enjoy it as much as possible. And for that, let's befriend that voice. My first invitation, always when we are dealing with internal critics inside either my group or one on one containers, heck, even my friends, is the question, who does this voice belong to? Are you 100% sure that this belongs to you? When you start to listen carefully, do you notice that there are similarities to a voice or a character or a person that played a role in your life when you were growing up? And all of a sudden, what happens is that we can start to take apart that voice and admit to ourselves that, oh, well, this actually sounds awfully familiar to how my father used to speak to me. Oh, this part belongs to my grandmother. This part belongs to my mom. Oh my God, this belongs to my second grade teacher. And it can be a combination of those. Typically, we adopt one or two as a core. And it happens because as kids, we create an understanding of ourselves based on the reflection from the external world, based on the reflection from our parents and from our caregivers, and then later on other authority figures in our lives. So the first step really truly is the awareness. As I've said so many times, awareness is like the light bulb that you put on so you can see what you're dealing with. It doesn't change it automatically, just like putting a light bulb on in a messy room doesn't make the room get clean magically, but at least you're seeing what you're dealing with. And that gives you a lot of power. Another invitation that I always ask is observing your thoughts when they pop up and asking yourself, firstly, is this thought, is this voice, is this thing that this voice is telling me right now even mine? Does this belong to me? This belief, does it belong to me? Secondly, is it true? Can I 100% say that objectively this is truth? And thirdly, is it kind? Now, answer all those questions and then make your decision based on whether you decide to go and run with whatever this voice is feeding you or not. The voice oftentimes also is so connected with our past and fears that come from that, because the voice is connected with the mind, and the mind level loves to analyze and loves to predict future based on the past. So that's why it's super hard to play the what if game in a positive way, and oftentimes the voice is playing the what if game in the most tragic scenarios where everything is doomy gloomy and goes wrong. And to wrap this up, I want to throw in a amazing reference. If you haven't read already, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer is the book to dive into and to just breathe in this topic, because he goes so well into this whole internal voice and internal the dialogues that we have. So I highly, highly recommend if you haven't read that already. And something that he recommends there is to, first of all, to see your internal voice as this internal roommate and just start observing it. What is the characteristic? How is it speaking typically? What does it like and what does it clearly not like? Is there tendencies that in the morning it has one way of speaking, and in the evening, by the time that it's tired, it has another take? So just become observing of what are the characteristics of that internal roommate. Oftentimes they are such outdated parts of us that mean well, but they go a really weird and sometimes even plain nasty, destructive way of getting their point across. It's not a friendly approach, okay? And be real with yourself. In real life, if you would have a roommate like this, how long would you put up with it? Okay. And secondly, name that voice. Put that voice a name. Mine, for example, is Sally. And whenever she takes over, I can refer to that as like, hey, Sally, I hear you. Sassy Sally. But hear me out. I think we can also look at it this way. Now, this is where your true voice comes in, okay? So name that voice however you like. Whatever comes up for you, name it. And thirdly, understand that that voice doesn't need to go off and on and on and on in a monologue. You can actually start a dialogue with that voice and see how this works, okay? This voice does not have authority anymore. It's not like a one dictator inside of you, but rather see that you have the power to shift the dynamic, and instead of letting it go to a tangent, stepping into a dialogue with it and see how much power that holds. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up here because I feel this internal voice and dialogue topic is so juicy, and I just wanted to give you a super grounded and a loving reminder that the voice is not you. You're so much bigger than that, you're so much deeper than that, and just because it sounds like you doesn't mean that it is you. That being said, happy exploration, happy getting to know that voice of yours, that voice that lives inside of you but is not necessarily yours. Let's put it that way. Just because it sounds like you, just because you have heard it your whole life does not mean that it is you. You have adopted it, it kind of belongs to you, but it's not you. And we can change that, and we can retrain it, and we can now show it new data, new way of approaching new points of views, that will allow this voice to soften. You are not that voice. You are not inherently the one that is harsh on themselves or the one that needs only a whip to get themselves moving. Your true nature is something way deeper, way more loving, way more compassionate. And in order for us to really get connected with that part of ourselves, we need to put the light bulb on, really get curious on what this other voice is telling in us, why it's happening. That's actually the second stage. You don't even need to know why right off the bat, but just become curious of what this voice sounds like, who it belongs to, what is it about. Name it if that helps you. Don't let it go off to tangents. Know that you can step into a dialogue with that voice. And slowly but surely, we are getting into that juicy, loving self that is going to take over and is becoming and will become so much louder, so much more prominent than that old, outdated roommate that you have been with for far too long. But there's never a wrong time, it's just now. And whether you have already befriended that voice or you are on the journey on doing that, I know that this requires patience and this requires curiosity and persistence and consistency. So I'm sending all my love from my internal space to yours. I am so eager to hear how it landed for you. What are your thoughts? What have you named and how do you call your internal voice? What have been some of the biggest aha moments on this journey for you specifically? So, as always, I truly am interested and excited to hear your feedback, to hear your thoughts. So, either put them to me in writing, send me a voice. I really would love to hear back from you. And if this podcast helped you, if you are excited to push some wind to the sales of this podcast, I greatly appreciate you following along, giving it a rating, sharing it with somebody who you have a feeling that might want to or need to hear this. And with that being said, thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.